So the guys are together today to talk about the movie The Force Awakens. Came out in December 2015 to obviously major fanfare and has been regarded as one of the best Star Wars movies to come out.
If not the best Star Wars movie to come out.
Now, is that how you feel about it?
No, is that not what we're going there?
No.
No.
You guys don't think it was the best Star Wars movie?
No.
All right, so let's get that out of the way first. What was the hard part about the movie? Like, Sandro, for you, I know you got a major point about the movie.
To be honest, I just thought that it was way too parallel to A New Hope.
Okay.
I realize that now it's in Disney's hands. Disney is very, very firm on kind of recapturing or rebranding a series. You know, we've seen it with all of their Marvel movies. Mm-hmm. They almost have to kind of take something and make it their own, put their own stamp on it. So it really does feel like they've gone back to A New Hope and just kind of redone that and said, hey, this isn't a sequel. This is now our take on Star Wars, and this is our starting point, almost. I mean, I realize that's not the case because of the bridge with the old characters, but that's really what it feels like to me, is that Disney was like, here's our take on A New Hope, and this is where we're going to start our series. That's
and you know what? It's, to me, that's the safe play. With Star Wars fans being the most sensitive out of any fan base that I've ever come across, I think that's probably the way that you have to go, trying to replicate and improve, or try to improve on one of the best Star Wars movies, if not the best one, in Episode 4.
It definitely says that Disney watched the old Star Wars movies, which is nice because Lucas was apparently telling us in Episode 1 through 3 he never watched the original Star Wars movies.
So you're confident because Disney actually did the research before spending $4 billion on this franchise?
I'm confident that they watched it. I think they should have then made a movie rather than just, redoing it.
I think that overall the Star Wars feel was there. You know, you had your classic good versus evil. You had, space battles and stuff like that. Ships flying everywhere. The actual scenes where people were fighting was well done.
That's the perfect take on it, because we're not reviewing the franchise. We're not reviewing the series. So to say, oh, it's New Hope version 2.0, as much as that's how I feel, that's not a fair assessment of the movie. That's assessing the series as a whole.
Yep.
If I boil it down to just the one movie, was it entertaining? Yes.
Yes.
Was there space battles? Yes. Was there lightsaber battles?
Ish. There was ish.
That's one point where they fell behind even the prequel. Well, the prequel lightsaber battles were fantastic.
They were fine. They were actually well done.
Unfortunately,
we won't talk about that too much.
They need to work.
I do want to agree with that, and not comparing it to the rest of the series, but if you're going to do a Star Wars movie, whether it's a retelling, a reformatting, a sequel, whatever you do, you have to cast people that are believable in that role. And Rey was a great cast for that character, but she did not look comfortable, maybe is the right word, in the lightsaber battles.
So you're saying that when the physicality of using a lightsaber did not look correct to you?
Her as the character was fantastic.
Okay.
I think she was very well done, though I will say this right out, Finn I liked much better. However, whether she had the training beforehand, I guess that's not necessary if you're auditioning for it. But to take up the mantle in such a large franchise, you're not stepping into just any old movie. You're stepping into Star Wars.
Yeah.
And lightsabers are Star Wars. She should have gotten a little bit more training, because honestly, I think that I could have wielded a lightsaber more believable than she did. It was like almost frantic and flailing. And
I think Jar Jar could have wielded a lightsaber.
Let's not bring Jar Jar into this.
You always have to bring something.
He's not in it. Don't worry, he's not in it.
How do people feel about the other characters? I know you mentioned Finn, so we all like Finn, right?
Oh, yeah. I like Finn. You like Finn?
I still think he's not that believable, especially from the way he's introduced.
Oh, I don't know. I like the reluctant hero thing.
See, the introduction, I can understand. It's almost like a form of shell shock. He does have the training. There's hinting at brainwashing and things like that, which has always been the case with it. But to actually see live combat for the first time, and it happens to people in real life. The first time, you can be trained, police officer sees someone get shot. they're going to a therapist at the work, right? So Finn to me is a little bit understandable, maybe not as strong, because they do try to make it seem like he's more just like a flight, he's not joining the good guys. He's just trying to get away from the bad guys.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily go against that as much, but I think that he's going to end up being, in the long run, a more entertaining character than Rey is, because I found Rey to be a little bit more one-dimensional.
I found the Finn-Poe interaction was probably the highlight of the movie in terms of dialogue.
Yeah.
Poe was great, but we did not see near enough of him.
No.
Yeah.
But other than that, my biggest gripe with the casting was Kylo Ren.
Yeah, and I'm right away I'm going to say agree with you.
Yeah.
And for me, it's because of, without getting into spoilers, he doesn't look the part of Kylo Ren in terms that he looks like a Greek in comparison to what his parentage is, which is not Greek. And the other aspect, and I think we all would agree on this, is that he doesn't look intimidating whatsoever.
No.
I think in general, other than the stormtroopers, their new outfits are really nice, and the fact
Shiny.
that they can hit things. For
Yeah,
once,
yeah,
Big
is pretty
point.
nice.
Fantastic.
So they're a bit more intimidating, but the bad guys as a whole don't intimidate. From the start, you feel like they're just gonna get, like, they've entered the ring in order for the good guys to knock them down. Knock them out. There's no threat.
To be
there.
fair, I hate to keep going back to the comparisons, but one of the reasons that Darth Vader worked so well for me in the original trilogy is because he wasn't unmasked.
Yeah.
I mean,
Until the
Until
end.
until the very end. But
Yeah.
when you have to have that human.
Spoilers.
but he had to have the human. If we're spoiling the original trilogy, you're not
30 years
I think there's a
But-
25-year statute of
But
limitations.
you know, he went so long without being unmasked, and it kept that mystique to it. And he the mask was intimidating.
Yeah.
Whereas Kylo Ren just freely took his mask off, and it was just like, all right, cool. You're just you're just a guy. You're just a human guy, and it took away so much of the mystique.
I definitely liked it better with the mask on. Like, I was a little bit more, I wouldn't say intimidated, but it was definitely better with the mask on. At least it drew those parallels. I know you're going to say something, so go ahead.
Well, I don't think you're going to get an argument that Kylo Ren looked more intimidating with the mask on than he did without it.
Yeah.
Because that's more than accurate.
I didn't think the mask itself was that intimidating anyway. I found it to be too plain.
I like the look. I like the full blown.
It was almost like it was a caricature of a Star Wars helmet. Like they were parodying it.
But when you think about the threatening villains we've had so far, I mean, Darth Vader obviously looked sinister. When he came anywhere, everyone was afraid of him. Imperials were afraid of him.
And sounded
When he
sinister.
When he was walking through the corridors of the Republic ship at the very start, the rebels were terrified of him.
Yeah.
Everyone was afraid of Darth Vader.
Now, we can't talk about the dark side too much without mentioning, like, Neo Emperor.
Neo
Well,
Emperor.
Even
Clearly, it was a projection, and if that's a spoiler to someone.
But
whatever.
even the
But
projection.
this character. First of all, the name they gave him, which spoiler alert, Snoke,
I think, yeah.
Snoke.
is not intimidating.
No,
I mean,
no.
if you just want to say, the old emperor was overthrown, so this is the new emperor, and then from that point on, just call him emperor. That would work because it's like a hierarchy.
Yeah.
Somebody is the new emperor, right?
We need to go and deal with Snoke today.
Yeah.
All
So,
right, so this movie did have its problems. There's no
did,
doubt about
it
it.
did,
And
it did.
at this table here, we're not going to be blinded to the fact that a new Star Wars has come out after so long, and the fact that we're talking about this is because it still was a good Star Wars.
yeah. Let's focus a little bit more on the good. I'd like to point something out that seldom is a positive for me when I'm watching movies or playing video games is music.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, and just like in the old movies, when Darth Vader was walking down that hallway, he's accompanied with that music. In this movie, it set the mood. It set the atmosphere. They know what they're doing, not just from a visual standpoint, though the CGI was very good,
Yep.
but they know how to mix all of that together. And to me, the sound, I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan. I'm probably the least Star Wars fan at this table, but when you hear that orchestral music and the clash of a lightsaber and that iconic phaser gun, sound effect, which I can't do, but it all fit together. And that to me is what Star Wars did so well, was the atmosphere that drew you into that world.
So we can really say, from at least a sound standpoint, music standpoint, that it really did the old movies justice.
And the CGI.
Yeah, the CGI.
Obviously,
I'm not going to complain about
the
that.
leaps and bounds they had with technology,
Yes.
obviously they had to their benefit, big budget, lots of CGI.
Yeah.
you can't dispute that it visually and audio, fantastic, all across the board.
I'll credit them for the CGI for not feeling uber modern, that they still added a little bit of nostalgia hint to it. Like, the Stormtroopers, in essence, didn't look any different. They were just probably shinier based on modern technology. Lightsabers didn't look that much different by any means.
Except for the little cross thing.
The cross thing, which has no real value for the most part, but we don't need to talk about that part of it. For me, I think my highlight of the movie was the way that they introduced new characters, being Finn, Rey, and Poe, while still touching on the nostalgic and giving Han Solo and Chewie a nice introduction and a prominent role in the movie, including Princess Leia and that too, on a little lesser of a scale.
Well, some of the favored characters, right? You want to at least acknowledge them and give them their time in the light, especially if it's almost like a passing of the torch sort of idea, moving to the new guys. Now we're going to focus a little bit more on the new guys, maybe in the next movie, right?
And you know that they did it the same thing with the Star Trek movie with Nimoy, right?
Yeah,
and I think they did it very well there, and I think they've done it very well here.
Credit to J.J. Abrams for that. He nails it.
He did both.
You got a bit of nostalgia, but you also have a new start, and that's nice.
Yeah.
What was your highlight to the movie?
My highlight to the movie was a lot of the action. Not including the lightsaber battles, which were lackluster and unappealing.
I won't disagree with you there.
But when it came to the rest of the action, the chases, the little brawls, the fight scenes, when they're in the ship with the monsters and they're being chased by that, I just loved the way the X-Wings were introduced into it. Yeah. It looked fantastic coming in.
There's a particular point in the movie talking about the fight scenes where it's just, traitor. That pumped me up so much. That Stormtrooper edition. That I'm not gonna say anything because I know a lot of people are gonna want to see it when it comes out in April. But that pumped me up so much to see it.
Bro.
I really liked individually Stormtroopers. When you got into them, they had a lot more flavor to them. They were a lot more intimidating up close. When you looked at like the Empire as a whole, it looked like a joke, as I've already said. But individually, I think they got it right on there.
Yeah. No, I think visually, great movie. The whole point of it was that we had our problems with it that was being expressed. For me, I was still entertained, and I don't feel like I wasted my money whatsoever. I went to go see it twice.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I wouldn't go to the theater twice for any movie. But, not being a huge Star Wars fan, but being one that has watched all of the Star Wars movies, I had no regrets watching it. I'm gonna pick things apart. But did I enjoy the movie? Yes, I absolutely did. Could they clean it up? Absolutely. I am a little bit worried about what they're going to do with the coming sequels. Yeah. But that's a discussion for another time.
And everybody, like I said before, Star Wars has its most sensitive of all fans. Everybody's thinking their own little thing about how the next one's going to be. Yeah. There's nothing consistent about it whatsoever.
I know how the next one's going to be.
Yeah,
just watch episode 5.
So Empire Strikes Back. If that happens, I might have to bail on episode 9 because you got to have a little bit of creativity into it.
I'm just kidding. I think they're gonna do the whole Game of Thrones books and show thing where they kind of started parallel, but now they're gonna go.
They're gonna start. Okay. All right. So if you were to give it a score, what are you thinking?
7 out of 10. I'd see it again. It's a good movie. Not one of the best movies, but it is one of the better Star Wars movies.
In a move that is very uncommon for me, I'm going to agree with Alex. I'm going to go with a 7 out of 10. It was a very good movie. I enjoyed seeing it. I wouldn't request my money back. But there was some short sightings that were glossed over by real fanatics. Right?
Yeah. I really didn't find... I understand that it does parallel New Hope. It didn't bother me, though. So the movie got an 8 out of 10 from me because I was thoroughly enjoyed, and I'm going to see it again. I can't wait for it to come out on Blu-ray.
Okay. I'm majority rules. I'm going 7 out of 10 as well. I feel the movie did a good job at bringing the Star Wars universe into the 21st century now. In terms of where it fits with the rest of the Star Wars movies, definitely better than the original, the prequel trilogy, but not quite as good as the original trilogy for me.
All right, so no force chokes, but there's a lot of tantrums. I really do think you're going to enjoy the movie. Check it out. This has been Pixel Opinions. Why are we staring?
Are you running a race? Or like,
Oh man, he's excited.
we're talking about Star Wars.